Hi, Romesh Shivastu here, Editor-in-Chief SightsIn Plus. Welcome to our YouTube channel. Please do subscribe this for the HR news, the HR updates, and the conversation with the top-notch CHROs. Today, we are going to discuss the best use of the ChatGPT in human resources. And to discuss in detail, today we have Ms. Harini Srinivasan. She is a partner at Simco Style Institute, India. Honey, there is a lot of noise about the chat GPT, and no doubt is the most trending topic as of now. But how do you see the best use of chat GPT in human resources?
Hello, Rameshji, and once again, very happy to be on your show on YouTube. Uh, ChatGPT has definitely taken the world by storm, and there's no doubt about it. Uh, I think primarily it is because the speed with which it got subscribers on board. Yeah, I think that is what it is. A lot of people got very curious about ChatGPT, and it had maximum number of subscribers and record speed. But if I were to look at how ChatGPT could be useful in human resources, I would break its use down in probably three aspects. One is because it is, I'm trying to now leverage on the strengths of an AI enabled tool. And and I think an AI enabled tool that is interactive, it being interactive is its biggest strength, or one of its biggest strengths. I think being interactive, it can definitely be used for improving employee experience wherever human beings are not required. So, for example, there could be information which an employee would quickly want to access, uh, and that may not require his manager or a team member to support him with. Right, there, Chat GPT could be used because it's interactive. People can quickly get information that they need. So, improving employee experience uh, by quick interaction or quick access to information. That's somewhere I think ChatGPT could be of tremendous use. The second area where ChatGPT or any AI enabled tool could be useful for HR is in analytics. Because the second biggest strength, in no particular order, but another biggest strength of ChatGPT is to summarize information of the past. It can take volumes of information of the past. It can scan through volumes of records and give you information in a summarized manner. So I think for HR professionals, HR practitioners, uh, a chat GPT could be used to come out with more robust analytics dashboards. The third area where chat GPT could be used in learning and development is to, in HR is in the space of learning and development, where you may be able to deploy something like that to find out what the training needs gaps are. What is now either not done or a time consuming exercise could be something which ChatGPT can do, because it can look at your employee database, it can look at the existing skills, it can look at the skills that you would need from your projected workflow database, and then it can just compare, and probably it can give you a summary of what could be the skill gaps that you need to work on. So broadly, in areas where you're talking of high speed interaction and access to information, and you're looking at summarizing the past information or analyzing gaps, I think these are areas where an AI enabled tool, or simply put, Chat GPT, could be useful for HR practitioners.
When you talk about the employee experience, so I think lots of AI-based chatbots are already available. So many HR tech companies are there. These are the companies that are offering the chatbots and so many tools for the employee experience. So, how differently we can use this chat GPT, or you can say what the benefits would be if we use the chat GPT for the employee experience, and how we can use it for the employee experience.
Well, I'm still exploring Chat GPT as a particular product. I mean, I have looked at and been a consumer of a lot of chat bots, whether it is a bank or whether it is when I'm exploring a certain website, etc. Uh, I've not gone so much into using Chat GPT, but I can tell you broadly when it comes to employee experience where Chat GPT or any AI-enabled tool for that matter, or any chat bot can help and could be a problem is uh, when an employee is seeking for information, uh, and if all the information, if there is robustness of the past information that is fed into the system, right? If a lot of information is fed into it, then the quality of response that a chatbot would give would definitely be very high. So, for example, one of my interns in the past was actually working on a chatbot enabled employee manual or employee handbook. So what we learned during that exercise while working on that project was fascinating. We thought it's very simple. You put in information into it, and typically these are the questions people will ask. Questions can come from the user, need not be in a particular manner. The questions can come in varied manners. It actually reflects a lot of emotions of the user as well. So when the questions come in a varied manner, the chatbot will actually struggle to come out with the right answer. That's where you get those funny answers. So to start with, uh, it may not be very simple, but I think it requires continuous learning, continuous machine learning for the chatbot to be able to come out with more and more robust answers. So if it is used, so to start with, probably use the chatbot for very basic things to keep the employee satisfied by answering those basic questions, restricted to that usage. Don't Let's not assume that okay, you have ChatGPT, you can create a marvelous employee experience. Let's not get into that. Let's go piece by piece, build try and build information into it so that it keeps on improving or upping, as you would say, the employee experience in an organization. So it's not something that we could probably jump onto. It might require a lot more learning to make it more robust.
Okay, and how we will use for the L&D purpose for the learning and development part?
Yeah, this is an area which I have been thinking about for quite some time, because what really struck me with my first exposure to ChatGPT, my first exposure was through social media. People published a lot of stuff about ChatGPT, and the first thing that struck me was, honestly speaking, at that time I didn't think of analytics. I only thought of learning and development, because to me it looked like, uh, okay, where does a learning and development professional actually spend a lot of time, right? I'm not talking of learning and development. There's a fundamental difference between training and learning and development. Training is a part of L&D, right? Where does an L&D professional spend a lot of time? In creating content, let's say instructional design, right? A learning and development professional will actually spend a lot of time trying to understand what is the objective you want to meet with that particular program. Maybe a training program, maybe an intervention. What's the final objective you want to achieve out of it? uh, how do you get there? How do you measure its effectiveness, etc.? Now all of these spaces, ChatGPT could be useful for finding out the for doing a gap analysis. Let's say a skill gap analysis, ChatGPT could be used. Like I said in the beginning, you have your skill database, provided it's updated. You know what skills you want in the future, and if you're able to find out the gap quickly, ChatGPT could be able to do your training need analysis faster than human beings could, because it's actually comparing data, it's searching for information, and it is just putting it all together. A learning and development professional spends a lot of time in creating content. Now, ChatGPT is something which can go explore various material available on the internet, source information, and summarize it to you and give it to you in a different way. So it can probably summarize information to you in a manner that you want, which will suit your audience, provided you ask the right questions. So maybe training content is doable in a faster and more efficient manner by an L&D professional using something like ChatGPT. And the third important aspect for an L&D professional is to measure effectiveness, come out with training dashboards. So training dashboards for how many people attended, how many hours of training, classify it into different, how much training time on what topic, etc. And last but not the least, maybe it can run quizzes, it can give you the results of those quizzes, it can do random assessment of how people work, and maybe training need effectiveness, or the training effectiveness can also be done using AI powered tools. Yeah, but honestly, all these are I'm saying I'm imagining, I'm looking into the future. I've not yet started using it, but I'm still exploring. But my first look from ChatGPT was precisely this. Here is a tool which is AI powered, which is able to navigate through volumes of data. It's able to compare data. It's able to summarize, put together stuff. It's able to simplify complex content. So, with all this, I think I see tremendous use in the learning and development space, starting from training need analysis, right through content development, and up to training effectiveness measurements.
So, Harni, the digital transformation, lot of chatbots, and so many technology. There's for the not only for the HR, for every function is there. But what we call the human factor, that is very important. That's what the HR professionals are known for. So, how we can ensure that while using the lot of technology, the human factor, the human that the H part that must be there. How we can ensure that?
Of course. So, if you remember, there are times when I would just feel like calling you up and say hello to you. There have been several times where we don't have a event coming up, but we just call up and say hello to each other and talk, and we talk agenda-less. But the conversation will be still be interesting because I might share an experience with you, you might share an observation with me, and we might end up having a conversation over it. That is not something which I think any bot could do. A bot could, you might be able to ask ChatGPT, tell me a joke, and it might give you a joke which you have heard in your school days. At some point, you may feel this is not what I wanted to hear. I wanted something original, right? So a ChatGPT cannot replace human when you're looking for original content. Let's understand that it is very, very effective in collecting, summarizing, analyzing, classifying, and presenting simplified data. It's not something that can create original stuff. So, where human beings still, or in HR, where the human factor is still of paramount importance, is wherever something has to be created, I think it'll still be human. Coming to the workplace, making people feel valued at the workplace, that has to be done by people who are working with each other. So what do I mean by culture, right? What's the culture that I experience in any organization? It is what I experience with my manager. How does my manager treat me? How do my peers treat me? uh, am I feeling valued in that organization? Do people recognize me for having been a contributor to whatever is required? Now, the sense of feeling valued, those small conversations, that timely pat on the back, that's not something which any chatbot could give. While a chatbot can look back and can identify those several instances when you've done a great job, but it can't smile for you when you've done a great job at that immediate moment. So when you've done a fantastic job, and imagine your team coming together and saying, "Hurrah, we have done it!" Uh, and that emotion that comes when you've cracked a complex problem, that can't be done by a chatbot that is there. Even if it does, you won't feel connected to it. You won't feel elated by it. So I think human emotions are very important. Now imagine how many of us wanted to come and meet face to face after spending 2 years in lockdown and doing everything behind the computer screen. We wanted to come face to face for what? I can see people on the computer screen. I can hear voices. I can get an experience of walking through, but still the human emotions of seeing the body language, seeing that smile, that spontaneity of a reaction was something that we all longed for. So I think that will still continue to be. So the human, the human behavior is what it's all about. So display of emotions, display of care, concern, anger, happiness, joy, all of that is something which is spontaneous, which when it comes suddenly, it makes you look at things differently. I think that is still yet to be there. What ChatGPT can do is it can just support you with a lot of information, with a lot of content, but human factor will still remain for employees to feel valued.
And what is your take on jobs? Do you think it is going to take the jobs of some maybe content writer, or that may be any white collar kind of job, low skill kind of job, you can say, that is done by the Chat GPT?
Honestly, I have never felt that any kind of technology can take away jobs. This might be my limited experience or exposure, but in all humility, I would say that any technology that comes, it only helps us to reinvent jobs. Some jobs, the way they were done in the past, might become redundant, and the usage of a technology might make us do the same job differently. It might require a different set of skills, but as of now, I'm not very sure if I can say that it will replace humans anywhere, but it will definitely replace the kind of job. If it really grows at the way it is growing, it could replace the kind of jobs, but jobs will always be reinvented. I don't think there's going to be any redundancy. For that matter, even the pandemic, let's keep technology aside for a while. The pandemic rendered so many people jobless, but then everybody tried to find out some way to come back. So there are ways in which we reinvent. So I don't think it could really be a direct attack on jobs. Yeah, but this is, maybe it's too early to say. Maybe I'm not imagining wild enough. Maybe I don't know much about how far this can go. Yeah, but this is as I see it as of now.
There are certain statements by the business heads. If I take one statement by IBM CEO, Mr. Arvind Krishna, so he said that Chat GPT is taking white collar jobs, and that is a good thing. So this is the one of the statements. So we learn a lot of from the statements from the business heads. So if it is taking the job, that would be very low skill kind of the jobs, and if that is being replaced by the Chat GPT, so work efficiency definitely that is going to high on this. So I
Yes.
think this is the meaning what he's trying to say.
Yeah, yeah,
Anything
exactly.
else would like to share on the Chat GPT? Any concluding remark into this?
Um, I just want to, put forward all my thoughts around whatever I have seen so far, whatever I've learned so far is, uh, it definitely took the world by storm, right? We've all been used to searching for stuff on Google. Uh, so much so that instead of saying search on the internet, we had started saying Google it, right? So search on the internet got replaced by the word Google, and we started saying Google it. And that was the presence of Google on our minds. Never did we think that there could be a chat bot or an AI powered tool which will serve the purpose of searching for stuff and also be interactive. I think where it really is way ahead of any of the search engines is it is interactive. It is a chat bot which does extensive search like a search engine. So it's a combination of a chat bot and a search engine. This is the simplest way that I can summarize it. But in my journey so far, what I noticed, I mean, most people, when they write a poem about me, write a poem about my company, give me some content about this topic. So, and that hooked on to people, right? So here is where I want to bring a small aspect. I don't think, it's not a very obvious thing, but that's something that I'm able to see because of my, working a lot with in the space of students, getting into mental illness, right? So what ChatGPT does is you're tempted to ask it to write a poem on yourself, right? And it comes up with a poem which talks amazing stuff about you. It says you are beautiful. It says you are talented. It says you bring a smile on everyone's face. It says amazing things about you. Okay. If so what happens is it can make you feel narcissistic that I am amazing, right? And the flip side to it, so while it is driving positive psychology, the flip side to it is it can make you narcissistic, starting to feel that I am the best. So when you're in a space where you have not matured enough to start reflecting on yourself, on your actions, and you're not yet there where you're able to see how other people bring value into your life, getting into this narcissistic space could be dangerous. You may not be able to face failures. So, from a mental health perspective, I think an interactive tool only brings out the soup, superlative positives in you could be dangerous. That's one aspect which, when I read a ChatGPT poem about myself, that's what I felt. I felt, oh my God, this is dangerous because it's only telling me what I'm great about. Okay. And that will kind of prevent me from doing reflections, introspections about myself. I will only start thinking I'm great. Now that's one danger. Why? So keeping that danger aside, let's also look at the positives. The positives is it definitely helps in putting together a lot of information. Something which, so if I have to quickly write an article, yeah, SightsIn Plus, and I always keep getting reminders. If I have to quickly write an article, it might make sense for, I might use ChatGPT to explore all my blogs and articles and come out with some content. Now, this won't be somebody's content that I copy paste. It could be a summary of my own content, which I recreate for an article, right? It's possible. Yeah, but let me also tell you that I've not used ChatGPT for the article so far. It's all original. But yeah, but you could do that. Now, if I have written about, I must have written over 100 articles now in the last few years, and I can probably use it to go through hashtag HS Express, all my articles, and summarize it and
And this is
create
one of the
something which,
best use. This is one of the best use of the chat GPT.
exactly. So that is something which I won't be able to manually sit down and do. It's difficult for me to take time, read through all the 100 articles and do it. Yeah, maybe I can use. I mean, ChatGPT can be used to, especially when you're creating, let's say, study material for students for your learning portals. Okay, you're building a learning portal. You're creating content, study material. This could go through a lot of books on the subject and come out with something which is holistic, unique, etc. Right? You can customize it for your target audience. Make it simple for 16-year-old. Make it simple for class 6 or whatever. You can do all of that. So here is where a lot of customization can be done. You can try, test it, all of that. But again, the flip side is you have to validate the content. I don't think it is safe for anyone to assume that the content given by technology or any AI powered tool would be absolutely flawless. You have to, as owner of that content, it does not absolve us from the need to look into all those details. So if there is content created, it's important for us to read through word by word, line by line, to ensure that the messaging is correct. So the accountability still lies with the content creator. You can't rely on that. So of course, creating dashboards, creating live dynamic dashboards, more robust analytics are amazing strengths. But it's also important for us to see that what is going into as information is accurate and flawless, because my imagination sometimes, it keeps telling me that there is so much of false information that's floating around on the internet. Now, is ChatGPT really enabled to filter out the false information and give you a summary of only the correct information? That I don't know. Maybe I'm not fully informed on it, but that is something that will be interesting to watch. And that's precisely why I feel that even if you have content that is created by using ChatGPT, you have to go through it, filter it out, and see whether it is flawless and correct.
Absolutely. The
So
authenticity, that is question mark is there on the authenticity
yeah,
we are talking about.
yeah, whether
Recently,
that is built
Google,
into it, I don't know.
yeah, recently the Google has also started the BART, that is another
Yes,
chatbot like in competition with this chat GPT. So, but
yes,
I think still people are talking about only chat GPT. They're not talking about the BART. We see very less articles on the BART. We see very less discussion on the BART. So, do you feel
yes.
also, because you talked about the Google, so do you feel this is also a threat kind of for the Google? This how do you see the future of Google now?
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm telling you more from a consumer behavior. It's normally the first mover who gets talked about a lot, right? So the first mover gets talked about a lot because it generates a lot of curiosity. People experiment, try it out. There's a lot of information floating around, so that gets spoken about a lot. But as the first mover continue to remain there on the top is something that time will tell. If there are others who kind of overtake it by better features, making it a lot more user friendly, etc., then the whole thing could change. And you might suddenly hear people talking about BART. But right now, it is the first mover, and therefore they're talking about it. For example, when all these online calls were going on, everybody started using Zoom because it's very user friendly, simple. It had a lot more features. And later on, now Microsoft is investing in ChatGPT. So when you incorporate ChatGPT with Teams, the Teams is going to have many more features, is what I presume. So when you look at that, a lot of things could change. And in the meanwhile, we'll have to see how competition comes up. And then we'll have to see who is not just the first mover, but also the longest runner. So that's where. So the first mover becomes popular immediately. The longest runner is what time will tell. So we'll have to wait and watch.
Thank you so much, Harni, for joining us and your wonderful thoughts.
Thank you so much, Rameshji. It was a pleasure.